Hey, Jamie. There you are. How are you today?
I'm good.
I am glad to have you here.
Thanks. Is anybody else coming?
Oh, I never know, but I'm glad you were paying attention and knew the class was today.
I was. Sorry I missed your coaching yesterday. I have been sick.
COVID or just sick? COVID.
I got COVID.
And bad.
It was bad it was bad Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I feel like I'm kind of on the upper end. And so today's the day I've done the most and I'm tired.
Are you able to taste your food again?
No.
No.
Nope. And it started out tasting like metal, which was like, I was like, oh no, but my son had it. And then my son's, his wife, or not my son's wife, my ex-husband and his wife, they had it, but didn't know they had it and gave it to my son. And they just found out that they tested positive for it on Monday. So as soon as I started feeling sick, I was like, oh no. So I went and got tested and it came back positive. And so did my son. So, oh well.
All right. Well, we've got an hour, so if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right in and I'll keep my eyes out if anybody else joins in.
Okay, good.
But
I'm kind of excited for this because I don't really know anything about listing presentations, so I really was hoping to get a lot from this.
well, and I hope you do. And if there's anything that's missing from it,
I wouldn't know.
there's a Q&A session at the end of it. So, so you can let me know what I overlooked.
Okay.
But let me go ahead and share my screen and pull you over here so I can look at you at the same time I'm looking at this. So today, mastering the listing appointment. And the first thing that I think is the most important to know about successfully having a listing appointment is the preparation is so important. You know, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. And prior to this, the last two classes that we taught were building your listing presentation and getting ready for your listing appointment. Okay, that's where our prep work takes place. And so we're not going to go really heavy into what does the preparation look for today. Today is really the appointment. What do you do when you show up? But I wanted to kind of go back and revisit part of what the prep is for people that have not watched the other two videos.
I haven't seen them. I'm sorry.
They're on the YouTube channel, so go watch them.
I will.
But we're going to talk about building your listing presentation. What actually goes into the listing presentation? What are the pages? What are the things that we want? They're going to be our tools to help us deliver our message when we're there. Okay. We're going to do our market research. We're going to pull our comps so that we have the material we need to justify the price we're recommending. Or the way I prefer to do it is I don't ever go in expecting to tell somebody this is what their house is worth. I go in prepared to teach them how to understand the market so that they decide their home is worth what I thought it was worth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, it does.
Yeah, because if I tell them something, how believable is it? You know, who knows? Depends on my credibility. But if they see it and they come to the decision that they own it, right? They believe it. So
isn't it ultimately at the end their decision anyways on what they listed? So you're just showing them.
Absolutely. Well, let me back up just a little bit and qualify that. It is their decision what they want to list the property for. It's my decision whether or not I want to take the listing. Okay, you want to sell your home for $350 and the comps tell me that the property's worth $250. I'm not taking the listing.
No, I wouldn't take it either.
Yeah.
So, and I would tell them why too. And
yeah. Well, I don't care. We want $350 for it. okay, then I'm not your guy, right? So yeah, you do have to be prepared to walk away. Printing your documents. You know, the idea behind a listing presentation is at the end of it, I want them to hire me. So there's certain documents that we're going to need them to sign to make that happen. I want to go ahead and have those printed and have those with me. And that we will go over in detail today. And then potentially we had a pre-listing presentation, okay, or a pre-listing packet, if you will, that's something we dropped off before our appointment or we emailed them, okay.
Okay.
And by far the majority of agents don't use the pre-listing presentation, but it does offer a lot of value in
Okay.
that it does some pre-selling for you. It makes you look more professional, and it saves you some time in your listing appointment. Okay. So you got to decide whether that's part of your process or not. Because if you're not going to use it, some of the things that you might put in your pre-listing presentation now need to be part of your listing presentation.
Okay.
Okay. So a couple of pro tips. So we've got our appointment set. It's this afternoon at 4 o'clock. I've already done all my prep work. What do I do now? Well, I'm going to dress for success. And I know that sounds trite and basic, but you're essentially going on a job interview. You're asking somebody to hire you to be their professional real estate agent. Be a professional real estate agent, you know, and I think that that's is needed in our market. Okay. Now, if we lived in Key West and you want to show up in flip-flops and Bermuda shorts, that's okay, because that's normal in that market.
Yeah.
That's not normal here. Okay. Don't dress for the gym, dress for the job interview. Okay. Second thing, be early. Okay. And I always try and get to my appointments. This is gonna sound weird at first. Get there 30 minutes early, but I don't get to the property. I will get close to the property. I will get to a McDonald's that's nearby or a Starbucks that's nearby, so that I'm only 5 minutes from it. Because you just never know with Atlanta traffic what's going to get thrown at you, and so I want to be close enough. Now, if it's 5 minutes from where I live, fine. I can leave 10 minutes early and I'm going to be good. But I like to be at the door 5 minutes, not their door, at the house 5 minutes before the appointment, to give me a couple of minutes to gather my stuff together, get myself pulled together, and then I'll head for the door. Next thing, park at the street. You don't know who may need to leave. Okay, so I don't ever want to block any vehicle in. You know, you don't know who's inside a garage. The teenage son may be needing to head to work and he's not part of the appointment, but you have to stop right in the middle of the appointment to move your car so that he can go to work. It's completely disruptive to what you're trying to do. Parking at the street's a very safe place to be. And the other reason I like it is it gives me that 90 seconds when I'm walking up to the door just to compose myself, get into the right frame of mind, think about my greeting. And when buyers come to look at that property, if I'm going to be listing it, I want to take the same walk that they're going to take. What's a potential buyer's first impression of that house going to be? And odds are they're going to be walking up from the street. So I'm looking at the yard. I'm looking at the outside of the house. I'm looking at the trim around the windows. I'm looking to see, are there any trip hazards? I'm looking at the neighbors to see if there's any issues that are there. Okay. So in that minute and a half, I've got a lot that I'm going on, but it's game face and start gathering the information that I need. Okay. And then lastly, go to the front door. Okay. And that may seem kind of silly, but you know, you've got the door under the carport or in the garage, or you've got the side door. I'm always, always, always going to go to the front door unless the client is outside waiting on me. That's the only time I'm going to head a different direction, and I'm going to head for them. Okay. So, how does that say the tour? So we've now rung the doorbell. They've answered the door. What do you think most likely the first thing they want to do is?
Show you their home.
Show you the house. It is so natural that they want to show you the house. Okay. And I want to give you two different ways to approach it. Okay. And you've got to decide which one works best for you. Okay. So you either do the tour together or you do the tour alone. Okay. So, and I see that face.
That's weird.
So I know that alone seems really weird. Okay. So the together makes sense. And a lot of people choose to go that route. Okay. That's not how I do it. I want to do the tour alone. But let's hit the together, because probably more agents do that than anybody else. So we're greeting them at the front door, hey, thank you for having me over. I'm really excited to talk to you about your home. I would love to take a closer look at your home. Can you give me the tour? Okay, absolutely. And during that tour, I'm trying to get into conversation with them, right? I'm trying to build rapport as we walk through the property. Okay. Then I'm taking notes as I go, and potentially pictures. Okay. If there's things that really stand out and I want to remember, I might pull my phone out and take a picture of it. Okay. It's not my marketing picture, but it's a picture, a memory reminder. Okay. But definitely be taking notes of what I see as I'm walking through while I'm having a conversation with them, right? And trying to find out more in just friendly banter more than anything else. Okay. I want to make them my friend. But while I'm doing this, I'm looking both for highlights. Okay. If I'm going to market this property, what are the things that really stand out that I think buyers are going to get excited about? As well as what are potential issues? Okay. And understand that's potential issues for a buyer. That's potential issues for an inspector. Okay. A home inspector does not care that there's a 24-inch round black stain in the middle of the carpet, right? He doesn't care about the carpet. He doesn't care that there's hand smudges up and down the staircase where they run their hands along the wall and not use the railing. Okay. He's going to care about the railing is loose. He's going to care about something's broken. He's going to care about a stain on the ceiling. Okay. So I'm looking at things that an inspector may call out, but I'm also looking for things. What's a buyer going to call out? I walk into a bedroom and there's, 150 porcelain face dolls all staring at me. It might be a little creepy to some people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or I walk into the man cave downstairs and there's 8 deer heads on the wall. Okay. Some people aren't going to like that. Okay. So I'm looking both, through the eyes of how's it going to be received by a buyer and what would an inspector possibly have an issue with.
Did you see that there was a home listed not like a couple of weeks ago where it was a half naked mermaid going down into the basement? Did you happen to see that listing?
I didn't see that one. So.
It was like a full everything going down to the basement, and they posted that as I was like, oh.
And I've seen paintings with naked people hung over the bed, and I mean, it's things that
this was like made out of like a mannequin, like plastered to the wall, like almost realistic thing going into the basement. It was different. I've never seen that before.
That was interesting.
It was a conversation piece.
probably not going to be well received by most buyers.
No, and then they had a Santa at the end of one of the hallways, dressed up all weird. It was, I should have sent you the link so you could just see the house because it was different.
Oh, and so what are we going to do with that information? You know, and we'll get to that in a second.
I
But
just don't want to hurt their feelings. They might really like that painting or
sure, but it's not about them anymore. It's about the average buyer.
right.
Who is the most likely buyer for their home. And as I'm going through the house, I want to look inside the house, I want to look outside the house, and everywhere. So, you know, if there's a shed, I want to look in the shed. If there's a crawl space, I want to look in the crawl space. If there's closets, I want to open up the closets and look in the closets. You know, for you, when you go buy a house, is your storage space important to you? Yeah.
Oh, it is to
Well,
me.
well, what if you open up the master closet and the clothes are just packed to the door and you can barely close the door? What impression does that give you about that house?
There's not enough storage.
There's not enough space. So, but if you don't open that closet door, you don't know that's an issue. The bedroom looked perfect, right? So look everywhere, look underneath the sinks, look inside the appliances. Because buyers are going to do that too. Okay. And then suggest you go to the kitchen to chat. Okay. That's where, when it is time to sit down and make the presentation, you want to do it in the kitchen. Okay. Now that's kind of the way things go when you're doing the tour together. Okay. You almost kind of reverse it when you're doing it alone. So if I were coming to your house, Jamie, to do a listing presentation, you know, and we came to the front door, hey, Jamie, how are you doing? Thank you for having me over today. Really excited to talk to you about your house. Can we go ahead and take a seat in the kitchen and get started? Okay. And we're going to go straight to the kitchen. We skip the tour. Okay. And then I'll sit down with you and I'll get my stuff situated and I'll pull out my notes. Okay. And what I'm pulling out is I pull out the seller's property disclosure. Okay. Which is blank, right? And I would tell you, Jamie, before we start talking about your property, one of the things that will be really helpful to me is I want to know everything I can know about your property. And this is a disclosure statement that if you end up hiring me, we'll use this by giving this to prospective buyers to let them know the things you know about your property. Well, it'll help me in giving you an accurate price if you can go ahead and share this information with me. And so I'd love for you to work on this for the next few minutes. And while you're doing that, I want to go take a tour of the property. And certainly I invite you to come and take the tour with me again later if there's things you're wanting to point out to me and make sure I know. But the first time I look at your house, I want to look at it the same way a buyer's going to. And when a buyer comes to look at your house, you're not going to be here. You're not going to be the one giving them the tour. So I want to look at it through their eyes. So I'm going to make one lap through the inside and take some notes on what I see. And I'm going to do a lap around the outside and take some notes then. And then by the time I'm done with that, you'll probably be most of the way through this disclosure. Does that sound okay?
I like that better.
I've only had one person ever tell me that they would be more comfortable doing the tour together. That they're happy to fill the form out, but that they'd prefer me wait and they do the tour with me. Out of I don't know how many listing presentations I've been on. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of listing presentations, and only one has ever had an objection to it. Every other one, that sounds great, because they're gonna follow wherever I lead. You know, do they know what a listing presentation is supposed to look like?
Mm.
No, odds are it's been 10 years since they've had a listing presentation done. If the other agent did a
Okay.
listing presentation, and even if they're shopping other agents and they had somebody else out to do this with them, did I not just set myself apart from every other agent?
Mhm.
Because my listing presentation isn't going anything like the last agent's, right? Last agent just came in and pulled out some glossy pictures and said, here's what I think your home will sell for. I'm taking a very different approach to it. Okay. So either way, after I do my tour, I come back to the kitchen table. Okay. And now we're at the same place. Okay. As if we had done the tour together. And we move on to the presentation. Okay. And for the presentation, the first thing that you want to do is set expectations. Okay. Here's what I want to accomplish today. Okay. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about you and what you're hoping to do, why you're selling the home and what's next for you. I'd love to share with you a little bit about me and my company and what I do to market my clients' properties. And if all that sounds good, then we'll take a look at the paperwork to get your property listed. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Good. Okay. Now they're not wondering what's about to happen. They've got a game plan. They know exactly what to expect. Okay. So build rapport, ask questions. That's the first thing that we wanted, So tell me what's prompting your move? Do we have a certain timeline in mind? Okay. Do we have a mortgage on the property? Do you know what the payoff is on your mortgage?
I thought there was like wasn't there? I know we did something. I just looked at it for in the Ignite thing where isn't there a thing where we ask the questions?
Yeah.
Like that sheet. Here it is. The
Yeah.
pre-listing
Seller
questionnaire.
questionnaire.
Yeah. Can you just bring that with you and kind of
Sure.
that as a guide? Okay.
Or create your own.
Okay.
Okay. And I love that you're using that as a tool. So that's one. Have those questions listed because you don't want to forget to ask something, right? And so spend a little time putting together your question list. What are all the things that you'd want to know? For
Okay.
example, Jamie, is there anything that's broken in the house that I wouldn't have noticed just walking through the house? Okay. Now, the way that I do it, I had you fill out the seller's property disclosure while I'm doing the tour. So when I sit back down, I pick up the seller's property disclosure and I'm like, okay, well, I see that this was going on with the property. This isn't working correct. What's wrong with that? The roof is 18 years old. Are you sure about that? Have you had anybody out to look at the roof? Were you planning to re-roof before you list the house, or were you hoping to sell it without the re-roofing? I've got a whole bunch of questions that I can ask based on what's on that seller's property disclosure. I see that you didn't mark that the refrigerator was going to move, with the property. How important is that to you? If that was the difference between us having a sale and not having a sale, would you be leaving the refrigerator? Those types of questions. Okay. But part of this is I'm wanting to find out what their motivation is, right? Why are they moving? What's their timeline for moving? Okay. Because when it comes time to sign on the bottom line, I'm probably going to have to come back and talk about motivation again. Well, once I have a sense of, I know what it is that they're wanting, what they're expecting in the sale of the process, how comfortable they are with selling it, whether or not they anticipate any challenges with selling it, then I can move on to talking about myself. Okay. And part of my value proposition. Okay. And my value proposition is two things. One, you get me, right? So what's the value of getting me? And that's going to be my experience, That's going to be the company that I choose to affiliate myself with. Okay. So if I don't have much time in the business, if I don't have a track record of success, I'm going to lean on the offices a little more heavily, right? Okay. But also don't discount your past experiences. Okay. You may have a marketing background. You may have a background in negotiating contracts. You know, could be anything. You may have an interior decorator's license, and you're able to help with staging. Okay. No idea what it may be, but you bring something unique to it. Could be the connections you have in the marketplace.
Okay.
Okay. And then what is it you do to get their home sold? What is your marketing plan? Okay. And we went into that a little more in depth in building your listing presentation. But this right here, the value proposition, the marketing plan, that's a pre-printed, put together package where you're just flipping pages, right? And talking about what's on each page. We're not doing this off the cuff, right? We got something tangible that they can see and touch. You may bring examples of your flyers. You may bring examples of your postcards if you do that. You know, make it real for them. Okay. And then once we've gone through our value proposition and the marketing plan, here's why you should hire me. Here's how I'm going to market your property. Let's take a look at what's going on in the marketplace. Okay. And that's when we get to our market analysis. But just make sure as you're going through this, and you'll see I put it in here twice, you know, after I've talked to them about me and my marketing plan, ask if they have any questions. Okay. Make sure before you move on to the next stage that they're with you and understand everything you just shared with them and why that's valuable. Okay. And sometimes you won't even need to ask the question because the whole time you're talking, that head's going to be bobbing and they're like, yep, that sounds great. Wow, that flyer looks fantastic. You know, I love that. Okay. I'm not going to ask them if that sounds good. Did they understand? They've already told me. Okay. But if they're being a little more quiet, a little more reserved, then I probably want to ask a couple of checking questions, you know. And if I know that they have been talking with any other agents, this might be a really good time where when I'm finishing my marketing plan, that I might ask them the question, you know, Jamie, is there anything that you've heard from another agent that they do that I probably do that we haven't covered already? Okay. Because I think it was it may have been Stuart. It's somebody here at the office that was telling the story that they lost a listing because in their marketing plan they did not mention that they put the property in the MLS. They thought that was just a given, right?
Yeah, but if
because they
people
didn't
don't
say
know,
that, they don't know. That is exactly right. But another agent had made a big deal about putting the property in both the MLS systems, and because he didn't bring it up, that other agent got the business. Okay, so that's the power of that question. And then we're going to go into our market analysis. Okay, and there's different ways to approach the market analysis, and I'm not going to tell you that there's a right way and a wrong way. I'll tell you my way, and I'll tell you what the other options are. Me, I don't like Cloud CMA. I don't like RPR. I don't like reports that say, here's what your property's worth. Okay. A lot of those reports use an AVM or an automated valuation model where it says, okay, these are the most likely comps, and based on that, your home's worth this. Okay. Well, number one, that's what Zillow does. And what do we know about Zillow values?
they're not correct.
They're wrong so often it's crazy because a computer lacks eyeballs. it can't look at something and say, this is a pretty house, this is an ugly house. Okay, all they can do is look at data points. And so it's really hard for them to give that subjective value. And you take two houses with the same square footage in the same neighborhood, and one's been well taken care of and the other one has been neglected, you know, that could be $100,000 difference between those two properties. But Zillow's going to say they're worth the same thing.
Where do you find, like, if somebody has a pool and the other house doesn't have a pool, but they're like the same floor plan, how do you know how much to add, like for the pool, or for like they added a fence or the,
Right.
you know, a new deck,
Okay.
that kind of stuff?
And that's a great question. In the coaching resource folder,
Mhm.
in the printable resources, there's DS Murphy's appraisal guide.
Oh, I just,
Okay.
Tennille yesterday was talking about DS Murphy.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're the largest appraiser in the Southeast.
yeah, that's what she was saying. Okay.
So their appraisal guide is in there for you to use. But understand that with some things like fences and pools, they don't always add value. Okay, there's not a formula for there. So is it a chain link fence in a neighborhood where everybody else has a wood fence? That's probably a loss of value.
Mhm.
Okay, not an added value.
Okay.
But they spent a lot of money putting that fence in, and they may think that there's value there. For a swimming pool, you know, if you're the only home in the neighborhood with a swimming pool, it probably doesn't add a lot of value because nobody else has a swimming pool. It's not expected, it's not desired. People that live in that neighborhood aren't living in that neighborhood because they want pools.
Okay.
Right?
But like if 50% of them have a pool, is that
Then it's expected that you have a pool, because if your
okay?
neighbor's got a pool, you need to have a pool too, right? That's going to definitely add value to it. But then you get into the question of, is it a concrete hole in the ground?
No, these were
Or
all in ground,
is it,
like nice.
well, but
Not your,
you didn't ask me about a specific property, but you know what I'm talking about. You have very basic pools, right? And then you have the landscape, you know,
yeah,
free form pool with the grotto and the waterfall.
yeah, they're
You
different.
know, those
They're
are
different. You got your Walmart pool, and then you got your, spa hotel pool.
That is exactly right. And so how those are valued is very different. So that appraiser's guide is going to help you with extra beds and baths, with square
Okay.
footage in the basement, finished basements, whether it's a 1-car or 2-car garage. It's going to help you with those things. Some of those other things that are a little bit subjective, we're just going to say, this makes this house a little more attractive, more desirable. It's probably going to be worth more. But sometimes that value just shows up in the buyer's mind, not on the appraisal.
Okay.
Buyer's willing to pay more money for it, but it won't necessarily appraise for more. Okay, but good question. So, but back to the market analysis, the other issue, besides a lot of those reports use an automated valuation model,
Mhm.
I don't like walking into an appointment with a fixed price.
Right.
Okay. Because if I'm walking in with a fixed price, and whether it be a price I decided, or in AVM, a computer decided the price for me, odds are it's going to be wrong. You know, the computer is assuming, and you're assuming, the house is in average condition. But what if the house hasn't been taken really good care of?
Mm.
Okay. Well, now I'm spending 20 minutes explaining why your house is worth 280 and not 310, like my report says. But your really pretty report there says it's worth 310.
Okay.
Well,
So do you just go in with like a range, like, or in your head, it could be.
in my head, I'm walking in with a range, and we'll get to that in just a second, because
Okay.
that's other people's approach. Is instead of walking in with a price, I'm still going to do my nice pretty report, but on my report I'm going to say your home's worth between 280 and 310. Well, if I came to you and told you, Jamie, that your house is worth between 280 and 310, what did you just hear me say your house is worth?
Just 310, because there's no
Just
way it could be
310.
worth, 280.
That is exactly right. So instead, what I do and what I see a lot of the best agents doing is we just print the comparable listings.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't put it in a report. We go find the comps, and I'll print out those 5 or 6 listings for me to take with me. And those are going to cover a little bit of a range. So take that 280 to 310. That's what I think your home's worth. We're probably around 295, 300 if it's average. If it's in great condition, remodeled, I'm probably gonna get 310 for it. But if you've got some neglected stuff, the paint's kind of smudged and old, maybe it's a older color and looks a little bit dated because it's that early 2000s tan on everything, and instead of the nice clean gray of today, we're probably going to get 290 for it, right? Or 280 for it. So I've got comps that here's one for 280, here's one for 285, here's one for 295, here's one for 300, and one for 310. Well, I'm now prepared to have a conversation with you from 275 to 315. Okay. I've gone through all those comparables, and I've highlighted all the differences on them. And I'm gonna sit down and have a conversation with you. And Jamie, let's take a look at what's going on in the marketplace. Let's take a look at this property right here. Now, this property has a brand new roof and a new AC system. Okay. It's been freshly painted on the interior. It's the same square footage of yours, or it's within 100 square feet of yours. And it's in your neighborhood. Okay. Just a few houses down. If you had to buy that house or your house today, those were the only 2 options. Which one would you buy?
So you're basically showing them you would pick the nicer.
You would pick it. And I think most buyers would agree with that. They would want the new roof and the new AC system. So what the market's telling us is your house is worth something less than the 310 that house sold for. Okay. But now here's this one. It's in average condition. It's about 200 square feet smaller than yours. They've updated one of the bathrooms, but they haven't touched the kitchen. Probably needs new carpet looking at the pictures, but it's got really good bumps. Okay. If you had to pick between this house and your house, which one would you pick?
Probably
It doesn't matter what the answer is.
no,
I'm guiding you. The idea is I want to have a conversation that your house is nicer than these, and not as nice as this. So your home's going to be worth somewhere
in the middle,
in this little range. Okay. And it may be, Jamie, that your house isn't as nice as any of these. And so you're going to be somewhere below, or it's nicer than all of these, and it should be a little bit above. Okay.
Do they ever ask if I paint and like maybe redo the cabinets in the kitchen and paint and do all this, will it bring my value up if I do that? Like, how do you address that?
Absolutely.
It would.
So, well, and you've got the framework for that right now. Okay. So here you are, Jamie. We've got property 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going from least expensive to most expensive. Right now, I think your house is in this range. If we did this, and this, then we're going to be more comparable to these right here. And I think we could get this much more for it.
Now, when your home's appraised by the appraisal, the appraiser, do they take into account like the paint color on the walls?
No.
Okay.
Now, they do take into consideration condition, and we're human. Okay.
Yeah. If it looks old and run down, they're going to assume it's old and run down.
Yeah. And are going to detract it. And if they walk in and the whole house is painted bright purple, okay, What's that appraiser thinking about that house? You know, he's not going to think it's as nice as the other one. It may be a beautiful paint job, but he's still not going to think it's as nice as the other house. And he may dock it a little bit for condition.
Okay.
Okay. But paint, how hard is it to fix paint?
Not that hard. Just
It's
a
not that
couple of
hard.
$1,000 and have it done, and then you gain,
So negligible effect there. Okay.
Okay. I just didn't know how much they looked at that and wouldn't appraise, like if somebody just refused to paint their home and just wanted to sell it and then you list it, but then the appraisal comes back, that wouldn't have anything to do with why it appraised low.
And these are great conversations to have. And I love it because we're gonna do this in just a second. And we'll revisit this again. You should expect objections. You know, you're gonna have what ifs and you're gonna have
I know.
questions like that. That's perfectly normal. Okay. But there's two different things. We have to sell the house twice. Okay. We sell the house to the buyer,
Mhm,
and then we have to sell the house to the appraiser.
mhm.
Okay. And just because somebody may be willing to appraise the house at 300, does that mean a buyer's willing to spend 300?
Mm.
No. They could walk in and go, oh my gosh, this paint color is horrendous. There's no way we could buy this house. Okay. And even if they could buy the house, do you think the cost to repaint it, the actual cost, is the same as what the buyer expects it to be?
No, the buyer always is gonna think it's like
That is
$10,000
exactly
more.
right. So I walk in and you say, you know, well, do I have to paint the house? No, we do not have to paint. We can sell the house as it is at the right price, you know. But the thing you have to understand, the buyers that are willing to pay top dollar, they expect things to be fixed. They expect things to be right. And the value that they're going to put on something like that is going to be greater than what it would cost you to fix it. So let's say it's going to cost you $3,000 or $2,500 to paint the house. You know, we could get it fixed up and get our top dollar for it. But if we don't, and a buyer comes in, they're going to look around and they're going to go, oh my gosh, look at this paint. We're going to have to paint the whole house. That's going to be $6,000 just to get the house painted. Okay. So their offer is going to be $7,000 or $8,000 less. Okay. Because if it was just dollar for dollar in their mind,
Yeah.
then that's not good enough. Because if I had two houses that are one's priced at 200,000 and it has everything's done. Okay. I have another house that's 195,000 but needs $5,000 worth of work. Which one are you going to buy?
I'm buying the $200,000
You're
one.
buying it because you don't have the headache and the hassle and
I don't have to
everything
do
that
it.
you don't have to do it.
It's
So
done.
I say that to say, not only do they put a higher price on what the cost is, they also add another cost to it of the inconvenience of having to deal with it. The fact that the house isn't move-in ready. So, but when you talk about repairs and whether repairs return their money, things that are broken, absolutely fix those. Okay. Because those are just expected to work. And things that are ugly, okay, try
Okay.
and fix those.
Show you.
And by that, you don't need to go remodel the kitchen. If you go in and you tear out a kitchen and put in a new kitchen, you're not going to get your money back out of it. Okay?
No, but if you paint the kitchen walls, maybe change the handles or something, it would be,
Freshen it up. Make what's there look as good as it can. Don't replace it. Okay. That's where you're going to see your best return.
this is, I'm gonna send you a picture.
Okay. I'll look at it later. Let's keep moving through class because we are recording this for YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And then after we've done the market analysis and said, you know, do you have any questions about what's going on in the marketplace or any questions about why that seems to be the right value for the home. And they say no, I don't have any other questions. Great. Well, let's go ahead and get it listed. Assume the sale. If I've done a good job and have moved through and I've showcased my value, I've told them how I'm going to do it, we're in agreement what the price should be, is getting them to sign. Should that be a hurdle?
No, because they should just be like, hey, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
That's the natural conclusion to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And even if they're like, can we, and we say, well, when can we put it on the market in 2 weeks? Absolutely. We can take care of all the paperwork today, get everything set up, and our active marketing date will be 2 weeks. Okay. We want to close that today, if at all possible. Okay. And when we talk about that closing, assuming the close is the nicest and easiest way. If you go in with the mindset that you have it done, you've won the business, and now it's just a matter of doing what we need to do to get the listing done. If at some point they don't want to list, what are they going to tell you?
They're not listing.
Yeah, they're going to stop you. Just keep going forward, assuming that of course they're going to hire you. Why wouldn't they hire you? You know what's going on in the market. You've got a great marketing plan. You're a really personable guy or girl, right? And they ought to hire you, right? So just act as if they're going to hire you. They'll let you know if they have an objection, and expect them. It's gonna happen. Well, Jamie, not so fast. We're having another agent over tomorrow to talk to them about them listing their property. Okay. I need to expect objections. No. Well, we're not quite ready yet. We really want to get this done before we be ready for those. Okay. Think about what are all the things that they could say. Okay. To object. Talk to some other agents and find out what are reasons that people stalled listing the property, or that you've heard that you had to overcome, and how did you address them. Be prepared. Get those scripts ready. Okay, so you know how to answer it. Well, Jamie, I'd love to list with you, but would you drop your commission? All right. I need to be ready for that objection. Okay, so that I keep the conversation moving forward. And once I address the objection, now I'm going to ask them, can we close? Jamie, would you cut your commission? No. Did you have any other questions? No. Well, great. Can we go ahead and get started?
You don't have to explain yourself why. Like, I would just be like, no. And then if they asked why, then I guess I would have to come up with.
Yeah. Well, and it's just a script, Jamie. So and there's lots of scripts for the objection question, but that's one of my favorites, is just no. That's what I charge. Did you have any other questions? And I've had them say to me, well, it never hurts to ask, does it? I said, no, it certainly doesn't. I can't blame you there.
Okay.
So go ahead and sign right here.
Okay.
And it's been that easy before, because they knew I was the right guy. They were going to hire me, but I do have other longer explanations about why I don't cut my commissions.
Okay.
But understand those objections, and then once you've addressed does that handle that concern for you? Does that make you feel more comfortable? Great. Is there any reason we can't move forward now? No. Great. Sign right here. That's when we're going to move forward. So, and the idea is be persuasive. Don't be pushy. Okay. We are not used car salesperson. We want to win them over to us. We want them confident in our ability, confident in our plan, confident in our integrity. Okay. And being pushy is not the way to accomplish that. And then know their motivation. If they're hesitant they don't have a reason for delay, but they're just hesitant, a lot of times it's simply because it's a big decision and they want to take time. Okay. Well, if we can take them back to their motivation and get them excited about what's next, okay, then oftentimes that need for time goes away because they want to get to next faster. Okay. So that goes back to those questions we asked at the beginning of the appointment. Bring those back up again. You know, Jamie, I know you're tired of that 45-minute commute. I would love to see that cut down for you as soon as possible. You know, I'm sure you would love it if 30 days from now you weren't driving 45 minutes to work, wouldn't you? I get that. I get that. So why don't we go ahead and do the right thing and just get this thing listed today? All right. Boom. We're off to the races with our paperwork. Okay. So if they say yes, or when they say yes, there's some paperwork we need to take care of at the appointment. Okay. Couple of them we must have. Okay. In order to take a listing, there's 2 documents we have to have. One's the exclusive seller brokerage agreement. That's the document where they actually hire you. Okay. That establishes the client relationship. Okay. That's a must have. And the SWIFT dual entry form. Okay. And that's the form that details everything that's going to go in the MLS.
Oh, okay. Is that the advertisement form or something?
No,
that's different.
That's different.
Okay.
This is the SWIFT dual entry form. Go look in the coaching resource folder in the required office forms, and you'll find that in there. Okay, in the dual entry forms. That's where you're checking every box that it's underground utilities, it's a gas stove, it's
Okay.
a fenced backyard, it's dual vanities in the master bedroom. It's a 9-page checklist, and it's where you write your description of the property. But understand, we're at the appointment, we're not going to finish this form. We want them to sign the seller's brokerage agreement and hire us. The SWIFT dual entry form, we want to go gather all the information from the property before we leave and get it on that form. But we are going back to our office to put that all in digitally.
Okay.
And to write our description. Because are you going to sit down at the kitchen table and write a 1,200 character description of the property that's very persuasive and engaging and paints a picture of what it looks like to live in that property?
No. And this is to put it into the Georgia FMLS.
Georgia
like
MLS and FMLS. That's correct. Okay. But
and that hooks up with the KW app, right? It'll just like.
And the KWLS, it gets picked up there automatically. Yeah. So you need that SWIFT dual entry form. We're going to start it at the appointment, because I'm not going to remember when I get back to the office if it was a gas water heater or not. I'm not going to remember if it had vaulted ceilings or not. Okay. So I'm going to fill out what I can there. Then I'm going to go back to the office to finish it. Then there's some things that we should get. While they're signing, go ahead and have them sign the advertising disclosure. The broker wants it, go ahead and get it signed. They are going to ask for the water and sewer disclosure. Okay. Go ahead and get it signed while you're there. And the wire fraud form. These are all things the broker is going to ask you and expect you to have. Get them signed while you're there. I don't have to have them for the listing to go up, but I'm going to have them before I go to the closing table.
Okay.
Okay. And there's nothing to fill out on them for the most part. I checked 2 boxes on the water and sewer disclosure, and I'm done with all 3 forms. They just need to sign them. Okay. And then I recommend go ahead and have the seller's property disclosure, the community association disclosure, the lead-based paint disclosure, and DeKalb plumbing disclosure, if they're applicable. Okay. You're always going to need the seller's property disclosure. I want you to do that, but that can either be the standard seller's property disclosure or the disclosure of latent defects form that's new this year. Okay. If it's in an HOA community, you need the community association disclosure. The lead-based paint, I need if it was built before 1978, or if any of the fixtures were built before 1978. And the DeKalb plumbing, only if it was built in unincorporated DeKalb County prior to 1993. So with that though, the lead-based paint disclosure, if it's required, I'm gonna have that completed and signed at the appointment. If we did not do the seller's property disclosure while I was doing my tour, I'm gonna leave this with them to finish and leave the community association disclosure with them to finish. I don't need to sit there for a half an hour to watch them fill those out and track down that information. But the buyers are gonna want that to include and attach with their offer.
Okay.
And then wrapping it all up, thank them. Thank you for your business. I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm excited to have this opportunity. Don't forget to thank them. Okay. Second thing, set expectations. Okay. What's going to happen next? Okay. Some of the things you're going to want to talk to them about. You may want to post a listing packet that you leave behind that details everything I'm about to give, but this may just be conversational. Okay. But one of those is, when's marketing going to happen? When is everything going in the MLS? When are you having pictures taken? When's your sign going up? Your lockbox on the door? When can we expect showings will start? Okay. Then I want to talk to them about showings. What can they expect from showings? Okay. How are we going to communicate about scheduling them? Okay. And what should they do to make sure the house stays ready for showings? What precautions do they need to take as far as putting medicine away, putting valuables away, putting guns away, okay, to make sure the house shows safely? And then what's our communication going to look like? How often are we going to talk? Okay. And I recommend that it should be at least twice a week. Okay. Once prior to the weekend, making sure we don't need to make any price adjustments, and one after the weekend, letting them know how the results went from the showings that week. But today's market is so hot, 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 you may find you talking to them every single day. Okay. And then lastly, ask them for referrals. Okay. They've been talking about and thinking about selling their house. They've been talking to other people. They know who else is thinking about it. They just hired you. They like you. You haven't had a chance yet to screw anything up. This is the perfect time to ask for referrals. Okay. And then my second to the last slide, wanted to address a 1-call versus a 2-call appointment. Okay. What we've just gone through and talked about was, this was a 1-call appointment. I showed up, expected to look at the property, give my presentation, sign the paperwork, and do everything today. I love that. Okay. That's the way I run my business. That's the way I do my listing appointments. But there is another way to do it. And Lynn Cayley in our office is one that exemplifies the 2-call close. And every once in a while, I have to do a 2-call close. And what we mean by that is, when Lynn goes out to meet with a client for the first time, she's going out to build rapport and to tour the property. And that's it. And she ends that appointment with, now that I know everything I need to know about your house, I can go back and do the market research and come back to you with the right price recommendation. Okay. And then she comes back and does her presentation, does the market analysis, and asks for the close. Okay. That's her business model. Well, the times that I use the 2-call close is, I've gone online and I can't find a picture of your house. I can't see it on Google Maps because there's no street view.
Okay.
And there's too many trees. I don't know, what does your house look like? Maybe the square footage is wrong or questionable. I don't know what I'm getting into. And I don't feel comfortable making a price recommendation or even printing anything out. I need to come see the property so that I can do the research I need to do to present the comps. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And lastly, I show up to the house and it's not what I expected. Okay. So I thought I was coming out to show an average normal house. And I show up and the house that was there burnt down. And I'm now in a rebuilt brand new house, not a 1962 house. I'm in a 2020 house. Okay. Or I get out there and there's a 1,000-foot addition, or it has a basement and I didn't know it had a basement, or I thought it was an unfinished basement and it's a finished basement. Well, all that research that I did, I don't have the right information. So when I'm doing my tour, if I don't see what it was I expected to see, I shift gears and I go from a 1-call close to a 2-call close. And when we finish that property tour, you know, Jamie, thank you. So I am so glad you had me out here today. You know, to be honest with you, I did not know about the basement. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And so the research that I did isn't applicable in your property. What I'd love to do is I want to go back to the computer, redo my research so that I can come back with you with some accurate numbers. Can we set up an appointment for me to come and see you tomorrow? Okay. Or Friday or whatever. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Why you would want a 2-call close sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Good. And that's the end of my show.
That sounds good.
Did you get out of it what you hoped today?
I did. Yes.
Good.
So
Good,
it was
good, good.
good.
And now you've got 2 videos to go back and watch too.
Yeah. I'll go watch them.
No, make sure.
All
Well,
right.
fantastic. Well, Jamie, thank you for being here. Are there any questions you have that I can answer for you before I let you go?
No, I'm gonna go through and work on. I'm finishing up my buyer's presentation, and so this is my next thing is to get this more. I have a little bit of stuff, but not enough. So I'll when I start going through that, I know I'll have questions, and then I'll just ask you.
Go watch that video, building your listing presentation, because we really detail here all the things you might want in your listing presentation, and you'll get a pretty comprehensive list.
Sounds good. All right. Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.